Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here tonight for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. It is Thursday, June the 21st, 2012. Now into Friday, June the 22nd, 2012. We thank you for being with us tonight. And yes, indeed, it is another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. Ka-ka! Flap them. Call out the Moonbat signals. Wake up the neighbor, kick the dog, kick the neighbor, wake up the dog, whichever one you want to do. I prefer you kick the neighbor, wake up the dog, but you know how that goes. Can't win them all. And yet again, surprise, surprise, surprise. Guess what? Not a lot of news today. I bet you're really totally shocked by that, huh? And, you know, for me, it's like... you know, when I'm involved working on a film, I mean, the only thing that I'm working on outside of the only topics I'm working on outside of that film, most of the time is stuff of the news, you know, because I'm constantly news hounding almost all parts of all the day. I go a couple hours sometimes without looking, and then I go back, you know, and look again and find stuff. But, you know, it for me, I mean, where I'm at right now, I'm still, you know, as I've always talked about, the more that you think you know, the more that you find out you don't know. And of course, when you're trying to make a film and get all your facts straight and get everything presented in a way where you've got something to say, you know, it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of watching of, you know, clips and stuff like that. And it's just necessary stuff that goes into it. A lot of it's not really exciting. There's not really anything much for me to come up here and talk about as far as that. But, you know, that's where that is. So, and like I said, that's what I'm going to be doing. I mean, when the news is just slow, there's not that much. I'm just going to, you know, do what there is. And, you know, talk about what things, you know, sometimes there are specific topics I want to talk about, not every day, but sometimes there is stuff that comes up. But the response that we get from the readings and stuff like that, is just phenomenal. And it really goes right along with what we're trying to do here, and that is to further the knowledge base. So, and, you know, I've had lots of people, you know, tell me that they just, at least they're honest, you know, they'll say, I just flat don't like to read, you know. And it's a lot more enjoyable when you read it and, you know, it's funny and whatnot. So, yeah, we're just going to continue to do that for now. And I'm going to continue to work on this film. About an hour or so ago, our emergency shipping banner ended. We, of course, did not reach our goal. Surprise, surprise. I'm sure none of you out there are shocked by that. I know the ones that don't donate and haven't donated at all are especially not shocked about that. I am shocked by the fact that there have been, you know, it's the ones that it's ones that don't donate that I know, have in the past and stuff, that it kind of make me just wonder. Definitely makes me wonder about those people, you know what I mean? And their intentions in the first place, that kind of thing. But, so that ended there, and we didn't meet our goal. So, yeah, I'm not going to be able to go. We did get some in, so thank you to everybody who did contribute to that, and it has helped and will continue to help me do more. It's not too late, though. I mean, if you still want to get in at the last minute, and you still want to get in for the Global Reality All-Stars this week, we've had a couple of people announce All-Stars for the week tomorrow night on the show, and that's people who donate $50 or more, either to the film or to the fundraising costs. So we'll have a drawing at the end of the month. We'll actually do the drawing, not tomorrow night on the Friday night show, but next week on the Friday night show is when we'll do the drawing. So, but it's not too late if you want to get in. There is about $2,000 or so left on there. Anything we can get towards it, you can use the donate button. Just because the chip-in banner hasn't ended, you can go into the donate button and use that, and it'll still get you in towards the All-Stars for the week, and it'll also still get you entered into the rewards that we've been offering, which is a mirror of the rewards that we're going to be offering on our Kickstarter page. And thank you again to Dan for setting that up and getting that all going and connecting that with his account. That's a big, big help, Dan. And, the thing about Kickstarter, though, is it's not like when I do my own fundraiser, if we don't have a goal and we get half of it or whatever, well, shit, that helps, that's less of an amount we have to climb, but the Kickstarter thing's all or nothing. You come up $1 short and it's, you don't get any of the amount. So, but the whole reason we're doing it is because we're hoping to get it out there to more people. So yeah, $50 or you're going to get a signed copy of the DVD, priority delivery, $100 or more, signed DVD, priority delivery with your name in the special thanks in the credits. Pledge of $500 or more, you're going to get a signed priority DVD and a co-producer credit and a special gift from the director. We had a couple of people come in at that level over the course of our fundraising. So there's that. And then $2,000 or more get you the executive producer title, the signed DVD, and a special gift pack. The $500 more get you a special gift, but the $2,000 more get you a gift pack. And it'll be stuff hand-selected from me, and it won't be just like junk. It'll be, it's going to be really, really cool, hand-selected, special things that you're going to get with that. Plus, you get your name in the credits, and $2,000 more get you the executive producer title. But anything along that rest, we have about $2,000 to go there. That whole amount would put us in a stellar spot. Half of that amount would put us in a pretty good spot, and 500 of that would be a help. So, anybody out there who hadn't helped us out yet that wants to help on this project and help it along, that's how you can do that. We also have the Kickstarter going as well. I don't know how that works. I don't know if they take the money out of your account, because I don't get any of it, or I don't see any of it until after it's done, which is 30 days from now. And again, if nobody pledges that amount, then we don't get any of it. But I don't know if when you go pledge, if it takes the money out of your account instantaneously, or if it takes it out of your account once it's done and over with, and the goal has been met, which I believe is how it is. I don't want to say that's how it is, but I believe how it is. You just go and pledge whatever amount you're going to pledge, and then once the goal gets met, then it comes out of your account. Then I don't know for sure though, so I've never done it, but yeah, we're hoping that'll just at least get it out into a maybe a different pool of people. I saw some of these projects up there that people have actually gotten a lot of money pledged towards, and it's just like, really? Somebody gave $35,000 for this guy to talk about his balls for 2 hours on videotape? Shit. But anyway, that's how you do that. My website where this broadcast originates from is theglobalreality.com. That's theglobalreality.com. We might notice some changes there when you go to the website. You might notice some ever-changing things. Actually, it's the website is currently undergoing some redesign, and I think it looks really good so far, and it's going to continue to look good. We had one of our listeners, I was calling him Blistered. He said I could, you're blistered black. Okay. So, but anyway, he built this new thing for us, and Manhydra, our webmaster's been working on getting it tweaked and everything else. He's been working furiously on it, so we appreciate all he's doing. But I think it looks fantastic as far as the symbols and stuff there, and just pops. It's getting a lot closer to what I've always envisioned. The color scheme and something I've always wanted, that kind of that bluish color scheme like that. I really like, and it's getting a lot. It's definitely getting a lot closer to what I've envisioned. So I think it definitely looks. For the longest time, I mean, several years ago, my website, for the first couple of years I was doing my show, I didn't really use my website that much. It was just kind of there, and I didn't really do much with it. But then once I started my own platform in 2009, the website kind of became the hub. So we had to redesign the website then. That's been 3 years. So, it was kind of due for a little upgrade. And what's funny is Manhydra said he was wanting to have a new template, but he was trying to figure out a code or something, couldn't get to work. And then lo and behold, here comes one of our listeners. And I thought it was the other way around. I was like, oh shit, man. I was like, fuck, Manhydra's going to be pissed at me. He's slapping him with, he just got used to the old code or whatever. And now I'm going to be slapping him with a new template. He's probably going to be pissed. But turns out, he wasn't pissed. He actually was wanting a new template for the site himself. So that's awesome. But up there at the site, you'll find all the stuff to fund our work, the operating costs there for the month, which we have to meet. And then we have the emergency film chipping budget's ended. But like I said, you can still go to the one-time donation button, the donate button. You can use that if you want to help us out with the other $2,000 or whatever we have left on there. But any amount towards that goal is fantastic. But you can put in pretty much any amount you want there. You can also use the direct method through PayPal. If you have a PayPal account, you can log in. You can send it direct to my PayPal email address, which is dayglow76 at yahoo.com. It's DAYGLOW76 at yahoo.com. You can send it direct to me through there. And you can also select the option there to put personal or whatever, where it won't take any fees out. So you can do that. We also have the monthly subscription, recurring donation subscription there. And you can put in any amount you want, 20, 50, 100, 200, 300, 500, or 1,000. And that will come out of your bank account every month. You won't have to come back and visit Chip-In Banners or worry about, if you've made your contribution for the month. It'll just come out regularly. And all the people who have joined on our monthly subscription, we haven't had a lot of those, and we haven't had any of them that have been over $20. They've all been the lowest amount possible. But the few people who have signed up for that, and then this will go for people who do sign up for it, the advantage to joining the monthly subscription thing now is that in the future, we're going to have a basically like a members site, and it's going to have, streaming video, stuff that you're not going to see or get, content you're not going to see or get other places. And all the people who have already been regular members are going to get grandfathered into that absolutely free of charge. So that's something to think about there. We also have a P.O. box if you absolutely can't use PayPal. And we have the Amazon.com gift list, wish list there which has cameras and computers and all kinds of gear from doing soundtracks for these films. And because I'm a one-man show, I do all these films myself, do all the music myself, editing, I run the cameras, everything, every aspect is done by me here. I mean, I'm the same thing with the show here. I've got, got video encoding over here, got audio encoding over here on the streams. I'm producing, running the show, looking at news, talking. It's multitasking wonder. That's why I play drums. We up there the wish list. You can, if you don't want to make a cash donation in lieu of that, we have that up there, and you can purchase items up there, which is no fuss, and it will ship directly to me, and it has stuff we need up there for the radio show, microphones, mixers, all kinds of stuff. So, theglobalreality.com, please help us out there if you can. I wanted to answer this question for a friend of mine, and it concerns an individual who I've done some looking into. But my friend Tiffany, she is doing a paper, and I guess it's for a design class or something. But she lo and behold, she wound up getting IM Pay. Now, those of you who know who IM Pay is, I've talked about him here several times on the show through the years. IM, the letter I, the letter M, Pay, P-E-I. And it's an interesting character. He's designed, a whole buku of crazy buildings and pyramid structures throughout the world. He uses sacred geometry and pi and everything else it is in the golden ratio, all that stuff in his work. And he is a descendant, a direct bloodline descendant of the Ming dynasty in China. So he's as bloodline as they come, ladies and gentlemen. His family goes back to the Ming dynasty. And he's an interesting character. He's done the Louvre in Paris. I think he's done a lot of buildings in Dallas. I mean, there's a glass pyramid type thing like the Louvre in Dallas. He did what else has he done here? Just in Dallas alone. I mean, he's done Dallas City Hall, which if you've ever seen the original RoboCop, by the way, they're coming out with a new one. I don't know how I feel about that. But the original RoboCop, the first one, that's why I love that movie so much, probably because it was filmed in Dallas. And it was supposed to be Detroit, but it was filmed in Dallas. And the OCP headquarters, which is the corporation, their building headquarters in the movie was Dallas City Hall, and that was built by IM Pei as well. He also did the Morton Meyerson Symphony Center in Dallas. I mean, he's just done all kinds. He's done all. You can go look him up. But I had heard stuff for years that he's a Freemason or he's in the Illuminati, he's in secret societies and stuff like that, and it's really hard to pin down. But when you look at his work, there's no question that the guy has knowledge that the same people who were the builders of the temples and the builders of the Gothic cathedrals had. Because the Freemasons, that's how they speak to each other. It's a gematria, it's a coded mathematical language in architecture. It's one of the real secrets of the craft because this is how they speak to one another through generations. Because a Freemason can walk into any of the Gothic cathedrals or any of the other classical structures around the world built in this style and actually glean information and glean knowledge from the structure itself based on the mathematics and the building structure and the style. Almost talking to you subconsciously, and it's a language they learn how to understand and know what the message is and what it's saying. And there's a great documentary. It's pretty hard to find. It's certainly hard to find in the U.S., and I think that there's a reason why. It's called Revelation of the Pyramids, and it's narrated by Brian Cox, and there's a part in there in that film where they're talking about the golden ratio, the golden spiral, pi, the whole thing. And they go and interview I.M. Pei. And I was like, whoa, wow. All right, because they're making this case in this movie that, there's no way the Egyptians with modern tools were able to do the mathematics and the sculpture and all this stuff. And so they start finding, the golden ratio and all that in the pyramid and the pyramidion, which is this small scale capstone like thing. And so they go to I.M. Pei and they ask him about the golden spiral, this, that, and the other, and he says, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." He denies it flat. And you're sitting there going, "Whoa, wait a minute here. I mean, how stupid do you think we are, man? Go and look at any of his designs. You want to sit there and say that you have no idea anything about pi or the golden ratio or anything? You're a liar. You're a flat liar." And I think that partway through the interview, he realized that. I think he realized so because he goes from denying it to saying, yes, many times I have used the golden number, the golden ratio, and it's something that I prefer to use, and I've used it many times. And all of a sudden, as he's talking about it, he says, Oh, I gotta go. I forgot I have an appointment. I gotta go. And he hurries out. And they keep the camera rolling. Whoever this cameraman was deserves a fucking medal because, he kept the camera rolling. It's very telling. You can see he denies it, starts talking about it, and then all of a sudden gets uncomfortable and realizes. See, first he's like, "No, I gotta deny this." Then he says, "Oh, well, no, anybody that looks at my architecture is going to know I'm a liar. Okay, I got to own up to this." So he owns up to it, and then he starts talking about it, and then he kind of gets, "Oh, shit, I just realized, what I've done. I've let a lot slip here." And, of course, he ends the interview and rushes out. One of the most telling pieces of footage, because for me, when I saw that piece of footage, there was absolutely zero doubt that I.M. Pei is absolutely either a full-fledged member of the Illuminati or at minimum a Freemason and someone who has been through these mystery religion and mystery school teachings and has this information, this knowledge. Now, of course, people always give me the argument, well, just because somebody has this knowledge doesn't mean they, doesn't mean they're in the mystery schools, blah, blah, whatever. No, in all cases it doesn't. But if you're someone of prominence, and you're using these things in a prominent way and you're very well known and popular, it's probably a chance that, no, you don't. But yes, there are regular people like you and I who know what these symbols are, what they mean, and we're not in these groups, So in not every case does somebody have a knowledge of these or use of these symbols. Are they in some, secret society? I'm not saying that. But I.M. Pei, it's just, for me, it's been rumored for years. The rumors have flown. You can go and go do some research into him, look into the things that he's built. It's unbelievable. There's no question he uses the ancient code of the builders. And some of that stuff, the reason I have for years known that he was a part of some secret society is because a lot of the mathematics and stuff that he uses are still a secret to this day. They're kept. A lot of those techniques are still kept in the hands of the people in these brotherhoods. But that footage in that Brian Cox documentary. Well, Brian Cox didn't make the documentary, but he narrated it. Fesha. remember that? Remember him, the principal, and the principal in Rushmore? Anyway, Revelation of the Pyramids. Yeah. When I saw that clip, I was like, oh, man, there it is. Because he denies it, admits it, then says, I got to go. Acting very guilty. What is he so scared about? What is he guilty of? For whatever reason, he felt compelled initially to deny it. Now, that to me alone is telling. What was his reasons for when he was asked an honest question? The guy wasn't trying to, he wasn't trying to goad him or anything. He just said, have you used this in your work? And he said, no, I haven't. And the guy was kind of like, yeah, you have. I mean, it's clear that you have. And then because he says, oh, yes, I have. And then, oh, I've got to go. But the key thing about it is the bloodline connection with the Ming Dynasty. That's the main thing. And also the use of sacred mathematics in gematria that has been reserved for the people that we consider to be the classical temple builders. So there you go, Tiffany. I hope that at least helps you some on your project. If you fail, it's not my fault. That's all I'm saying. Because some professor's probably not going to like you coming in and talking about I am Pei being in the Illuminati and all this stuff. But, hey, people can deny this stuff all they want, but it's a fact. It's a not up for argument fact that these Masons had this knowledge that these ancient, highly sophisticated builders had. And these are the same guys that I'm on to with this whole rock wall thing. There's no question about it. But there's a reason why, if you go to a lot of the Masonic lodges today, they'll say free and accepted Masonry. You ever wonder what that means, free and accepted Masonry? Because up until a certain time, in order to join the Brotherhood, in order to join the Freemasons, you had to be an actual stone Mason. And that's what kept the information and the knowledge in the hands of a few people up to that time, and it really was not corrupted until after Freemasonry became free and accepted Masonry. And accepted Masonry means that you're accepted as a brother into the fraternal order, even though you are not an actual free Mason, you are an accepted Mason, because you're not a stone Mason. And at that point, I believe, from my research, that's when you started to have the infiltration occur, and the knowledge became corrupted and used for power and lust and greed and everything else. But anyway, there you go. This is from, I've got an email here, just came in the box, from Adrena. She says, hi, Josh, I was listening to the show the other night when you were talking about chemtrails. He said X marks the spot where they do these designs and patterns. What I wanted to know is, what do you think they're making it for specifically? Do you really want to know that? That answer that question? Because I'll tell you, they use it in combination with HARP. They use it and they use it with the X-band radar system. That's why they use an X. The X-band radar system, which is located very close to Gakona, Alaska, where HARP is located at, uses barium. Now, where in the world is there barium in the sky at? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Chemtrails. It uses barium to create a 3D topographical image of the entire surface of the planet Earth, which they can then use for missile tracking, aircraft tracking, or anything else. But what they can also use this for, in combination with HARP, is electromagnetic brain entrainment, which they use in combination with the X-band radar system to be able to see a location in which they want to hit HARP with, whether they're going to be using HARP in the application of creating these clouds that separate, and these HARP blasted clouds that you see, or whether it be electromagnetic brain entrainment. But yeah, it's basically the X's and stuff you see are their eyes, and the grids are used along that same way as well. This is their eyes. This is how they're able to see, and how they're able to direct whatever they want to direct, whether it be for weather modification or for mind control purposes or whatever else. I have taken pictures of them and watched the sky here in St. Louis and noticed these X's often. Thanks for the show as always. Look forward to it most every day. Peace and love. All right. Well, thank you, Adrian. I hope that helps. But yeah, absolutely. That's there's some sort of targeting system. Not a lot of news tonight. We're going to burn through what we have here. Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention. I was talking about the Ming Dynasty because I Am Pei is comes from that lineage of the Ming Dynasty, and I've talked about the Ming Dynasty being they were very much in the bloodlines and in power and everything else. Well, a few years ago, and I covered this on my show back in 2008 when this happened. I hadn't been on the air very long. And I've saved this article, and I found it again because I remembered it somehow related to the Ming Dynasty. And, a lot of this stuff with it I've talked about with these Amorites and these people who are the mound builders and stuff as well. And some of the stuff I've talked about with the rock wall, it's like, man, sometimes some of this like stuff is just like, were these guys time traveling? Were they time travelers too? It certainly makes you wonder. If you watch the movie 10,000 BC, which was made by Roland Emmerich, who did Day After Tomorrow and 2012 and Independence Day and Stargate, and obviously that guy's a mystery school member himself. But in the movie 10,000 BC, which he made, it's unbelievable. These Amorite guys are in the whole movie because the people the people the movie takes place with, where they're chasing down fucking woolly mammoths and stuff. That's in Siberia on the Siberian plain, and they look like Eskimos. And these guys come across what they call the Great Mountains. And when they show up, they're these big, men of great stature, and they all have, Sephardic-looking features. Big, literally big Jew noses, and they look, dark olive skin, and they look very Sephardic. And they take them as slaves, and of course they take them across the desert. And then when they wind up in Egypt. And guess what? These guys are building the pyramids. And one of these Siberian slaves leans over and says, who are they? And he says, and it blew me away, he says, some people say that they come from the stars. Other people say that they flew across the great water after their civilization sank into the sea. And these guys fit the bill for these Amorites I've been finding, and there seems to be a lot of evidence that these guys were in China as well, because they found red-haired Caucasian giant mummies in China. Some of them were, a few years ago, they found were loaded down with pounds and pounds of marijuana. And also in 2008, I covered this mystery as century-old Swiss watch discovered in ancient tomb sealed for 400 years. Archaeologists are stumped at finding a 100-year-old Swiss watch in an ancient tomb that was sealed for more than 400 years. They believe they were the first to visit the Ming Dynasty grave in Shaanxi, Ming Dynasty. And these Amorites were there, and like I've talked about, these guys were the ones that also built the Antikythera mechanism, which was this clockwork meshing gear device to measure the stars, found off the coast of Crete, where their Amorites were thick, man. They were thick right in there. And this is during the Ming Dynasty. This is, the equivalent of finding a 747 inside of the Great Pyramid. But here again, they found this 100-year-old Swiss watch in a 400-year-old Ming grave. But further proof, yet again, that these guys were these ancient builders. They were the one that had the knowledge. They were the builders. They were the ones that came from Atlantis or came from the stars somewhere, as they said in the movie. And they had the this knowledge of building. So it stands to reason that I Am Pei, being of that bloodline, his ancestors were the ones that got the knowledge from the builders themselves. No wonder he's built all these architectural masterpieces throughout the world. His ancestors were the ones that carved the gigantic obelisk in Baalbek, Lebanon, that's still there, that was never quarried because it was so big. On and on and on. The ones that built the rock wall, I believe. So here you see why it's important to look into these bloodlines, to look into these families, because there's no question that if I Am Pei comes from this Ming Dynasty, he's got a lineage and a heritage that goes way, way, way back to those original builders that were the people who set up and created the original secret societies. With the worst wildfire in their state's history ripping through massive swaths of woodland, residents of central Colorado could have been forgiven for thinking things couldn't possibly get any worse. But authorities were yesterday forced to ground aircraft tackling parts of the enormous blaze amid reports of a meteor shower raining down in the same area. Now, this is crazy. So they're having all these fucking wildfires in Colorado, right? In the middle of it, a fucking meteor shower happens in the middle of the day, and it's so bad they have to ground airplanes? Something's up with this. I mean, is the space war full-blown going on up there? I mean, is it like Robotech? Are they just blowing fucking ships out of the sky up there, and now stuff's falling to the ground? They're saying, oh, it's space junk, or oh, it's meteorites. There have been several sightings of objects falling from the sky close to the fire, burning 1,100 acres. Oh, man. So, yeah, that's probably what this is, isn't it? They've got the underground base at the Denver airport. They're scrambling the, UFOs or fucking, these next-gen aircraft. Or, I mean, isn't the master of Space Command Wing, isn't that in Colorado? Right? Where the head of space warfare, it's located in Colorado, right? That's probably what's going on. They're fighting a fucking space war right there, right out in space, out in the vicinity, right above or below, however you want to look at it, for where Colorado is. These chunks are coming down, and they're landing right there where they're launching all these skunk work aircraft at. They're getting blown out of the sky from space-based weapons and whatever else have you, and boom, you have wildfires. I mean, come on. And the meteors just happen to be falling in the place exactly where the wildfires are happening? I knew something was going on with this. My gut told me something was going on with this. I just didn't know what it was. This is very suspect. Chaffee County Sheriff Peter W. Palmer said his office received multiple reports, including one person who thought a meteorite might have landed in a wooded area north of Buena Vista. Meanwhile, the crew of a heavy air tanker spotted something while making a run to a dump slurry on the blaze. Said Steve Sagan, a spokesman for the U.S. Forest Service. They weren't sure what it was, Sagan said, confirming the report of a possible meteor shower. They didn't know what it was, but it was a meteor shower. How the fuck does that make any sense? Well, we didn't know what it was. Well, they told us it was meteor shower, so we believed them. Yep. We don't know what it was, but it was definitely this. Now, that's a contradictory statement. You either know what it was or you don't know what it was. You don't say, we don't know what it was, but we sure know it was a meteor. Somebody is blowing smoke here. They landed as they normally do to reload, and for safety reasons, they grounded themselves until they could figure out what it was they saw. You mean they're coming down that rapidly that you had to ground your plane before you could figure out what you're seeing come down? The Colorado sightings corresponded with reports of a possible meteor shower filed by the crews of 2 commercial aircraft over Liberal, Kansas, said meteorologist Scott Erkin of the National Weather Service in Boulder. Ian Greger, a spokesman for the Federal Aviation Administration, said he had no such reports. He also said there were no reported disruptions to commercial airline traffic. Well, stranger and stranger then. Fire officials ordered 4 single-engine aircraft to stay on the ground as a precaution. 2 heavy air tankers were also affected. The planes soon resumed their attack on the fire. The groundings came as firefighters were taking advantage of a break in the heat to ramp up their attack against wildfire burning on more than 100 square miles of the northern part of the state. Yep, somebody is lying. Definitely something going on with that. Boy, if this isn't eugenics, I don't know what is. Listen to how fucking retarded this is. A recent study conducted by scientists in London found that obese persons of the world are playing an increasing large role in the rate at which the planet's finite resources are used. Increasing population fatness could have the same implications for world food energy demands as an extra 500 million people are living on the Earth. The findings published in the journal Health. Research was conducted based on the theory that the body mass of a population should be factored into the amount of energy it burns, in addition to the number of people residing in a certain region. Though obesity touches all corners of the earth, it was found that Americans were especially weighing down the planet. Weighing down the planet? I don't get that. We're weighing it down. It's just unbelievable. If all countries had the body mass index distribution of the USA, the increase in human biomass of 58 million metric tons would be equivalent to the mass of extra 935 million people of average body mass. I mean, this is absolutely fucking ridiculous horseshit that is being run by the UN to further, it's a fat tax, essentially, is what they want to do here. But all the crap they've pumped us with in the food, all these other things, I mean, they make it sound as if, Florida's going to break off into the ocean if there's too many fat people. I mean, this is just absolutely more eugenics crap and more crap for them. The thing about it is they're fucking themselves. They want to bring in this socialized medicine, but because they've pumped us full of poisons and food for years and years and years, if they do that, that's why they've been stalling on the fucking nationalized healthcare thing. Remember how everybody was shitting themselves when Obama first got elected, and you kind of hadn't heard much about it? Now they're talking about it may not happen. Well, that's why. Because if everybody gets on the national teat, they're going to have to be paying out for all these people who they've made sick and poisoned through their food and everything else. That's why there's been such a change lately in the fast food restaurants not using pink slime, and all of a sudden people actually, you can actually go to the grocery store now and buy products and actually say no high fructose corn syrup. None of this stuff is being done. They aren't changing this stuff because they give a rat's ass about you or my health. Not at all, not for a second. But they're doing it because in order to get the grips tighter around us, they have to bring in nationalized medicine. But it's a catch-22 because if they do, then they're going to go broke having to pay for the welfare of all the people that they poisoned with the food and water and everything else for years and years and years. Somebody there? Weird sounds behind me. What that was. My cat's not in here, so I don't know what that was. Uruguay could become the first country in the world to sell marijuana to its citizens as it attempts to fight a growing crime problem. Under the plan, only the government would be allowed to sell marijuana to adults who have registered on a government database, letting officials keep track of their purchases over time. Well, that's bunk. Oh, yeah, we're going to make it legal, but we're going to keep track of all your purchases. We're going to know how many times you've bought it. I mean, that's fucked up. They're going to send a fucking, the pot police to your house if you buy over an ounce a month or something? I'm sure people will be, it's party time. Yeah, let's go to Uruguay and get fucking high. You know what they call it? Uruguay? You should call it Ura-high. Ha, 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 ha. Yeah. Too bad, they're, but I mean, shit, they track and trace everything you buy anyway, right? Well, it always starts here. If we always get we had the fucking cameras, the street cameras and all that stuff. Man, we had that back mid-90s before anybody else had it. I remember then telling people it was, that this was Brave New World and everything. They just laughed at me and called me an idiot. But we always get the evil stuff here in Dallas and in Texas first, and then, it spreads to the rest of the world after that. Dallas International Airport is trialing a new scheme which should allow passengers to breeze straight through from the car park to the runway without barely having to lift a finger. Well, perhaps one finger. For the airport will use fingerprint scanners and iris scanners to hopefully remove the need for any security or queues. Right. Well, here you go. So if you don't want to go through, you don't want to get your junk grabbed, and you don't want to get scanned with with all this DNA unzipping material from these full naked body scanners, then, just give us your thumbprint and your retina scan and all your biometric information, and you'll be on your way. This is such horseshit. They have turned the airports into one gigantic, massive data mining operation, ladies and gentlemen. And every time you get on a plane, you willfully give up more information than you are aware of, even going through the airports. Scanners that they tell you about that scan your cell phone and pick up information and can actually download information off of your phone without you knowing it. All that kind of stuff. All under the guise to keep you safe from terrorists. My ass. Imagine being a meat eater all your life and then in the space of a day, you become allergic to it. That's the real issue facing hundreds of people in the U.S. who have mysteriously developed this allergy over the last few months. This sounds like a bioweapon to me. And this rash of meat allergies currently sweeping the east coast of America appears to have been caused by one single little species of tick. Oh, man, same as Lyme disease. Started on the east coast, started from a tick. Yeah, this is a bioweapon. But, I mean, I don't know for what purposes. What, to turn you into a vegetarian? The fuck is it? I mean, what, did some crazy left-wing greenie meanie cook this up? No, I've got the greatest, most sinister plan of all time. Yes, we are going to control people by making a tick that makes them not want to become vegetarians and makes them become hardcore Nazi vegans. My plan will work great. I mean, it's just like, oh, I mean, is that, you know, we will no longer have to use all this evil methane. You know, they always say that cow farts from methane from meat eaters is what causes global warming, and so we all should be vegetarians and vegans. I got nothing against it. If you want to be a vegetarian or vegan, that's your business. But it's also my business if I want to be a meat eater. You know what I'm saying? I won't hate on you for being a non-meat eater, but don't hate on me for being one. But I mean, really, I mean, it does sound like this was cooked up by some left-wing Dr. Evil, doesn't it? I will keep them from ever polluting the earth with their vicious bovine excrement ever again. You get bit by this tick, and all of a sudden you see a filet mignon, you're like, oh, fuck, I'll throw up if I even eat that. Oh, Jesus. I don't know what's wrong with him, Doc. Ever since he got bit, it's just, he's not the same. Doc comes in with a fucking, you know, fucking porter, steaming hot fucking porterhouse, dude. Fucking medium rare, baked potato with all the fucking, you know, all the trimmings, everything. Boom, puts it down in front of you. Now eat it. Takes one bite. Blah! Yep. You got bit by that left-wing tick. It's the damnedest thing. And we've had quite an outbreak of it this year. Them left-wing ticks are everywhere. Yep. Especially up there in D.C., I hear that's where they got them the worst. Yep, turns you full-blown into a left-wing commie overnight. Makes you not want to eat meat. Makes you love the president. And makes you want to shave your head and run off and join some feminazi camp or something like that. It's the damnest thing I ever seen in my life. Dr. Scott Cummins, the assistant professor of medicine at the University of Virginia, said the animal's saliva trickles into the wound and causes the violent reaction, which can cause potentially deadly allergic reactions. People will eat beef and then anywhere from 3 to 6 hours later start having a reaction, anything from hives to full-blown anaphylactic shock. And most people want to avoid having the reaction, so they try to stay away from the food that triggers it. He said he had seen about 400 cases, of which 90% of the patients had a history of tick bites. Studies are now being carried out to confirm that theory, and Dr. Cummins added, it's hard to prove. We're still searching for the mechanism. Allergies usually appear in children and rarely start in adults. The most common allergies include peanuts and pet hair. But for adults who have been meat eaters all their lives, suddenly developing the allergy could be difficult. Some people are totally destroyed. Others say, maybe I'm better off without it. Yeah, that would suck. That would suck. I have to say. Probably not as bad as your dick falling off or getting Lyme disease, but it would suck. Axiom Corp, the faceless organization that knows everything about you. An Arkansas company you've probably never heard of knows more about you than some of your friends, Google, and even the FBI. And it's selling your data. When you think of the surveillance state, you usually think of snoopy alphabet government agencies like the FBI, IRS, DEA, NSA, or TSA, or cyber snoops at Facebook or Google. But there's a company you've probably never heard of that peers deeper into American life and probably knows more about you than any of those groups. Little Rock-based Axiom Corporation, Jeffrey Chesser at the Center for Digital Democracy has dubbed Axiom Big Brother in Arkansas. Gizmodo calls it the faceless organization that knows everything about you. Here's what you should know about the company. The company fits into a category called database marketing. It started in 1969 as an outfit called Demographics Incorporated, using phone books and other notably low-tech tools, as well as one computer to amass information on voters and consumers for direct marketing. Almost 40 years later, Axiom has detailed entries for more than 190 million people and 126 million households in the U.S., and about 500 million active consumers worldwide. More than 23,000 servers in Conway, just north of Little Rock, collect and analyze more than 50 trillion data transactions a year. In essence, it's as if the ore of our data-driven lives were being mined, refined, and sold to the highest bidder, usually without our knowledge. If you are an American adult, the odds are that it knows things like your age, race, sex, weight, height, marital status, education level, politics, buying habits, household health worries, vacation dreams, and on and on and on. It does more than collect that information, though. It uses it to pigeonhole people into one of 70 very specific socioeconomic clusters. An attempt to predict how they'll act, what they'll buy, and how companies can persuade them to buy their products. It gathers its data trove from public records, surveys you've filled out, your online behavior, and other disparate sources of information, then sells it to banks, retailers, and other buyers. Yes, it's a very competitive and lucrative business. Axiom reported a $77.26 million profit last fiscal year, and it's the number 2 company in the business after Epsilon. But analysts say that the Axiom has the world's largest database on consumers. There's a lot of players in the digital space trying the same thing, but Axiom's advantage is they have a database of offline information that they have been collecting for 40 years and can leverage that expertise in the digital world. Is it legal? Yes, but the Federal Trade Commission is asking Congress to step in to make the data marketing industry more transparent. Unlike consumer reporting agencies that compile and sell your credit score, data miners like Axiom don't have to tell individuals what they know about them. Privacy and consumer advocates say that's troubling, since the companies are selling sensitive, potentially embarrassing, and possibly false information about you, and you can't correct errors. FTC Chairman John Leibowitz says Axiom and its peers are the unseen cyberazzi who collect information on all of us, and we should have the right to know what they found. The biggest worry about this is, when you've got this is just all going to be used against everybody eventually. Declassified document contradicts Cheney's claim of Iraqi connection to 9/11. A document declassified this week by the National Security Archive reveals that the Central Intelligence Agency delivered a briefing to the Bush administration which directly contradicts former Vice President Dick Cheney's claim that 9/11 hijacker Mohammed Atta visited an Iraqi intelligence official in Prague. The document, dated December 1st, 2001, and delivered to the White House on the 8th, claims that Atta did not travel to the Czech Republic on May 31st, 2000, and adds that the individual who attempted to enter the Czech Republic on May 31st, 2000 was not the Atta who attacked the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001. Despite this briefing just days later, on December 9th, 2001, Dick Cheney told the late Tim Russert, host of the Meet the Press, that the meeting in Prague had been pretty well confirmed. Well, what we now have that developed since you and I last talked, Tim, of course, was that report that's been pretty well confirmed, that he did go to Prague and he did meet with a senior official of the Iraqi intelligence service in Czechoslovakia last April, several months before the attack. Now, what the purpose of that was, what transpired between them, we simply don't know at this point, but that's clearly an avenue that we want to pursue. Cheney's claim was one of the strongest rhetorical links between the attacks of September 11, 2001, and Iraq and the administration's arguments for war, even though it was refuted by the CIA more than once. The initial allegation reportedly came from misinformed Czech intelligence agents and almost became part of a 2003 speech by the president. A plan that was scrapped after the CIA station in Prague issued a still classified cable insisting that it was not true. So yet again, more another chink in the armor of the bullshit narrative of 9/11. Not that you need it anymore, but there you go nonetheless. Well, that about does it for our news again tonight. Surprise, surprise, surprise. But hey, at least we got an hour out of it. That's pretty much all I can ask sometimes. All right. Well, we will take a break, come back, and get into more for you here tonight on the show. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. That's TheGlobalReality.com. You'll find all the archive shows up there, video clips, all the ways to support our work, and trailers, you name it. We got it all up there. But we will take a break, come back, and we're going to get into our continued series of reading for you here tonight on the show. This is The Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Stay with us. Back here with you on the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us here for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. We are going to be continuing our series of reading The Lost Worlds of Ancient America, Chapter 27, The Stone Towers of Japan and Easter Island by Professor Nobuhiro Yoshida. So this should be definitely more interesting read here. TheGlobalReality.com is our website. Again, please support our work and donate so we can continue and keep on here and get everything handled. And everything to do that is up there at the website, TheGlobalReality.com. You can also email me anytime, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. According to a report received by the national headquarters of the Japan Petroglyph Society, an ancient stone tower discovered on an offshore island suggests cultural links from Japan to the other side of the Pacific Ocean 1,400 years ago, and it may explain the unique civilization that arose on Easter Island. On December 10, 2000, Mr. Hiroki Hayashi was joined by 5 Japan Petroglyph Society members at Shodoshima, located between the cities of Takamatsu and Himeji, about 13 miles long and about 10 miles across. It is the second largest island in the Harima Sea. Following local traditions of ancient ruins atop Mount Hoyago, Hayashi and his colleagues began their ascent. At its summit, 2,680 meters above sea level, they found 2 magnificent stone domes, one approximately 18 feet high and 12 feet wide at its base, the other about 30 feet high and 15 feet wide. Sato Jima legend assigns their construction to some 2,600 years ago, when the first Japanese emperor, Jimmu, built them as astronomical observatories. An identification suggested by the very name of Mount Hoshiago, Star Castle Mountain. Not far from the domes on the island's western peak, the Japanese Petroglyph Society researchers, the JPS, found stones arranged into a square approximately 30 feet in diameter and 3 feet high. It is oriented to sunrise so perfectly that dawn light appears through a gateway on the eastern wall of the sanctuary. Although constructed many centuries ago, the location is still venerated by local pilgrims as a sacred site. The enclosure is dedicated to the deity of fertility, the so-called guardian of red beans. In not only Japan, but China, Burma, Thailand, Tibet, and Korea, red beans have been the traditional components of sacred feasts. Together with boiled rice, they are consumed in Memorial Day ceremonies. Cakes, or mochi, presented as offerings to the gods include red beans mixed with rice and honey or sugar. Interestingly, this very name, Shodoshima, means island of the red beans. Perhaps it was among the most important religious centers in Asia, a suggestion underscored by traditional associations with Japan's first emperor. When I saw Mr. Hayashi's photograph of the Mount Hoshigajo Dome, I was struck by its resemblance to a structure on Easter Island sketched in a 19th century lithograph reproduced by Ancient American magazine. In the foreground, a human figure emerges from an open enclosure, not unlike the stone square on Shotoshima. The apparent structural parallel between Japan and Easter Island is supported by contemporary traditions found at both locations. For example, Easter Island was supposed to have been discovered and settled by a seafaring king, Hoto Matua, along with his royal family and followers. They arrived from a faraway land known only as Hiva. Easter Island derives from its discovery made by Dutch Captain Jacob Roggeveen on Easter Sunday, 1772. The Azumi were a powerful sea people who controlled much of Japan until banished by the Kinki dynasty around 600 AD. They sailed away to the west, never to return. Were the Azumi Hoto Matawa's people who landed on the shores of Easter Island? A comparison of time frames implies as much because archaeological dating of the earliest human settlement at Easter Island begins around 400 AD, followed by successive waves of immigration for the next several centuries. Moreover, the summit of Japan's Mount Hiva features an immense boulder locally revered as the tomb of the god Izagani, who created the Japanese islands. It appears as several important place names throughout Japan, such as Hiroshima Prefecture's Hiva, the site of a very old shrine. These correspondences are supplemented by racial evidence for trans-Pacific connections. Isolated populations in the northeast prefectures of Japan, unlike the Polynesian inhabitants themselves, strongly resemble the persons portrayed in the giant statues for which Easter Island is best known. Did the 6th century Japanese sea people, remembered as the Azumi, who possibly sailed to Easter Island, range farther beyond to South America? Mr. Hiroki Harayashi's discovery during the late 2000s of an ancient dome tower on the island of Shotoshima compares with a similar structure uncovered about 30 years earlier in Ecuador. Referred to as La Ola, the oven, the prehistoric dome is perched atop a hill 600 feet above the capital city, Quito. Conventional archaeologists have erroneously designed the structure as a temple of the Incas because it existed even predating the Quitino Indians, who were conquered by the Incas some 1,200 years ago. The Quitino themselves spoke of the alien magicians, builders of a much older civilization that included La Ola. In any case, its obvious similarity to Japan's mountaintop dome of Shotoshima is compelling. In support of such trans-Pacific comparisons was the discovery made in the mid-1960s of Japanese ceramic figures on the coastal Ecuadorian side of Valdivia. Dating the ceramics placed them as early as 3800 BC, when the Jomon culture was flourishing throughout much of Japan. Combined with new evidence from Shotoshima, they indicate that prehistoric Japanese sailors, familiar with Ecuador from deeply ancient times and throughout the course of many centuries. Wow, that was a quick chapter. Man, that was fast. Well, that's the end of chapter 27, so we're moving on here. Chapter 28, Peru's Lost City of the Cloud People. On August 15, 2008, after a month of hacking their way through the rainforests of northern Peru, a team of American and Peruvian explorers finally stood before the mighty ramparts of their quest. Earlier, all they had to go on were years of preliminary research into legends and rumors of an otherwise forgotten metropolis deep in the Amazon jungle. "It's a tremendous city," exclaimed Sean Savoy, the team leader, containing areas with etchings and 33-foot-high walls. What I tell you, there's those ancient builders again. These same guys. There they are. And it's just, oh, yeah, well, it's a coincidence that they built them walls 33 feet high. Don't mean nothing. Ain't got no significance. Just a coincidence. Sean is the son of Gene Savoy, who accompanied the expedition, whose earlier discoveries, such as the sacred city of Peru's Gran Pajatan, have been featured in past issues of Ancient American. He christened their new find Gran Saposa after the nearby village of Saposa. Although the area had been mapped out with preliminary drawings, the explorers were surprised by the vast extent of the ruined city, located 9,186 feet above sea level. Its 39 square acres enfold 5 citadels, standing among waterfalls and lakes, all surrounded by massive walls hung with thick vegetation. Matted jungle growth covers their enormous carvings and figure paintings, Sean Savoy reported. He went on to say that his team also found well-preserved cemeteries containing the mummified bodies of Gran Saposa's original inhabitants in almost perfect condition. Study of the remains may help to confirm the 16th century accounts of the Chachapoyas, a fair-complected people renowned for their prowess as outstanding warriors and encountered by early Spanish explorers. The Chachapoyas were already virtually extinct when Francisco Pizarro and his conquistadors overthrew the Inca Empire, which had absorbed the earlier civilization and established its own settlement, perhaps a garrison, within the walls of Gran Saposa. Until its discovery, little of the Chachapoyas was known, save for a number of oversized burial caskets attesting to their reputed tall stature. Here they are again. Here's the giants again, the Caucasian giants. Number of oversized burial caskets attesting to their reputed tall stature found in Peru's northern jungle region. Like Egyptian sarcophagi, the coffin lids had been sculpted into representations of the deceased. The Chachapoyas appear to have been the white-skinned giants described throughout Andean legend and allegedly responsible for building the pre-Incan city of Tiwanaku in remote antiquity. 10,000 of them flourished in Gran Saposa around 700 AD, when its farming terraces were watered down by an ingenious system of stone canals. Their application during the 8th century proves the Incas, who rose some 600 years later, inherited, rather than invented, as historians assumed, these sophisticated agricultural and irrigation techniques. Discovery of the lost city is an important achievement in Peruvian archaeology because it promises to shed new light on the development of the Andean civilization. That's the end of another chapter. Wow. Here's some short chapters. Well, I'm happy to burn through them. I mean, you know, they're short. We'll just keep on rolling. Chapter 29, Pennsylvania's Stone Sepulchres. The Cherokee are an untypical Native American people because they evidence a variety of different racial types too broad for a single tribe. Remarkably, their variation is not entirely the result of modern intermarriage with modern non-Amerindians. Indians. Yeah, you could say that again. Man, I mean, the DNA evidence is there. You'll see this all in my new film. When the earliest settlers from Europe arrived in Tennessee, they compared some Cherokee to Moroccans and Sicilians. This unresolved heritage may be part of the same, no less, anomalous structures examined by the publishers of Ancient American magazine. In January 2006, I visited a small town just north of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where I met Donawan Buchanan as an elder among the Eastern Band Cherokee. She could tell me about their oral traditions. Her knowledge of Native American history is prodigious, and I was anxious to learn her reaction to several artifacts I brought along from my personal collection. These included a number of ceremonial pipes and portrait stones with recurring symbols. In return, she escorted me to several ancient sites scattered and remote, but surprisingly familiar. I immediately recognized them thanks to a back issue of my own magazine with its cover story by Irvin N. Shirk about Pennsylvania burial cairns. He described massive stone burial structures atop large granite boulders deep somewhere in southeastern Pennsylvania woodlands. To protect the pristine site from possible vandalism, Shirk requested we refrain from publishing the site's exact location. Now, to my astonishment, Donawa led through Pennsylvania's heavily wooded forest to a large cairn-built burial ground on private land. Granite boulders were everywhere, not just one or two, but more than a dozen as far as I could see. A fence ran through the property, but the collection of cairns extended beyond my line of sight to another privately owned estate. According to Donawa, the people there were not particularly cooperative, and we could not go any further. To appease the spirits of the place, Donawa sang a beautiful melody in her native tongue. I wish I could have recorded it. The woods echoed back her prayer song, and she gave honor to the burials of ages past. She told me the burial ground was Delaware, and that the person who owned the land was a Delaware mixed blood. This tribe, for reasons long forgotten or more likely still secret, buried their warriors in a most curious way. A large granite boulder would be laid out in the manner of a serpent's head. Dun, 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 dun. Then the deceased were interred head to foot, leading out and away from the large boulder, the head, like a snake coiling through the woods. These serpentine burials were referred to as the walls of the warriors. Singular burials of small stones placed atop the large boulders were not named. We surmised that the serpent-like burials were representative of rebirth and renewal, just as the snake sheds its skin and begins afresh each year. Well, that's one way of looking at it. It could be that these were the sons of the serpent. And who were the sons of the serpents? Who was the serpent? Cain. Cain means serpent. Cain, Canaanites. Canaanites means the sons of the serpents. But if the real reason for this mode of burial is still known today among the Delaware, they aren't talking. That's the end of chapter 29. Chapter 30. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Yes. Here we go. Oh, that was all worth it. Man, I hope this is not a short chapter. Let's see how. Oh, man. Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. Ha, ha, ha. Yes. Now we're getting into the shit. Oh, man. Now, I guess if you hear that much excitement in my voice, it's probably not hard to tell what this chapter is going to be about. And it is indeed about the rock wall, ladies and gentlemen. So let's jump into it. I'm stoked. Now, see, I didn't know. I knew that at the beginning of the book they talked a little bit about the rock wall, but I didn't know if there was going to be a chapter in here. And I didn't know about this, and I haven't read this, so I'm excited. Here we go. More than 150 years ago, an entire town was named after one of the most baffling discoveries in archaeological history. The mystery persists to this day. Unlike a vanished stone reservoir, the first pioneers who crossed into the Hawkeye State found to their amazement. A 30-minute drive from downtown Dallas, just north of I-30, may be found the Texas town of Rockwall. Located close to the western shores of Lake Lavon, its name derives from a remarkable discovery made there in 1851 by three early settlers, Boyd Stunn, Reg Stevenson, and T.U. Wade. They were digging a well near what is now the town city limits and sank a shaft about 30 feet deep when their picks hit solid masonry. Surprised, they excavated around the obstruction to reveal a stone wall, obviously man-made. Visitors flocked from all over the area to gawk at their subterranean anomaly, and someone suggested that the village, still nameless after its founding 10 years earlier, be christened in honor of the discovery. Today, Rockwall, Texas is occupied by 10,500 residents who are no less mystified by their town's namesake than Messrs. Stunn, Stevenson, and Wade when they first laid eyes on the underground rampart nearly 150 years ago. Since then, incomplete excavations of the site show that part of the mysterious structure bisects Rockwall's downtown area and stretches nearly as far as the town of Lavon, about 7 miles to the north. Jane Gilbert, writing for the Rockwall County Historical Foundation, claims it extends further still, running throughout Rockwall County and into Hunt and Kaufman counties, Approximately 10 miles altogether throughout geological or archaeological surveys of the site in its entirety have thus far not been undertaken. Oh, I'm sorry, let me read that again. Thorough geological or archaeological surveys of the site in its entirety have thus far not been undertaken. Again, nobody's even tried. This is why I'm so on fire about this. This is why I need you to help me make this film possible. That's why I've had these fundraisers. Nobody thus far has made any archaeological or geological surveys of the area in a large way, and certainly not with new technology. This is what we have to do. According to some calculations, wrote Frank X. Tolbert in the Rockwall Community Shopper, the walls are 4 miles square and sometimes 40 feet in height. Blocks in the walls are often strikingly symmetrical and held together by a mortar-like substance. Opinion, professional or otherwise, is still divided over the find's real identity. Gilbert writes that the wall has been interpreted by geologists as being a series of clastic dikes caused by liquid material being forced up through the cracks in the Earth's crust and becoming hardened into a wall-like formation, right? Yeah, with perfect 90-degree angles and round watchtowers with windows cut out in them and all that. Yeah, that's real natural. This theory stems from cursory examinations of the site undertaken by W.L. Stevenson. Surprise. Oh, crap. Oh, shit. I didn't know that. Oh, fucking A. Okay. So I knew who W.L. Stevenson is because he's the guy, he's the motherfucker, right? He's the guy who, based on flawed evidence, examined a structure that I talked about last night in the area of 549 in Cornelius Road near Highway 66. It actually runs through and is actually in the middle of the wall itself, not on the wall itself. He's the guy that, to this day, they still take his scientific analysis that it's natural as the gospel. And guess, oh man, he was from the Smithsonian Institute. I did not know that. There you fucking go. My goodness. See, I was never able to confirm who he was with. I knew that W.L. Stevenson's analysis that the walls were natural was still the scientific explanation held to this day, but I never knew who he was working on behalf of when he made that analysis. Now we know Smithsonian. My God. Well, there you go. My God, I've been proven right all along here, hadn't I? And Robert T. Hill from the University of Texas performed in 1927 and 1975, respectively. Martin Kelsey of Dallas and Harold Denton of Beaumont published a monogram during the early 1980s when they similarly referred to the rock wall structure as a sandstone dike composed of 55% zircon, 17% garnet, 13% tourmaline, 10% titanite, 2% saurolite, and 1% brookite, with about 2% unknown material. The soil surrounding the walls is Taylor chalk, except for some 2 feet of black waxy substance composing the topmost layer. Hill, Stevenson, Kelsey, and Denton are the only geologists who have actually visited the site, however, fleetingly. Their professional colleagues who have at least heard about Rockwall dismiss it as an underground extension of the Balcones escarpment. Yeah, the Balcones doesn't come that far, though. That's been proven. But even they admit that it is a freak of nature without parallel anywhere else in the world. There it is again. I love that. Oh, yeah, it's part of the Balcones escarpment. It's natural, but we have not found anything else like it anywhere else in the world. Yeah. And there are some troubling questions about Rockwall for which geologists still lack answers. Dr. James Lafayette Glenn, a former agent for Florida's Seminole Indians, an author of a photographic essay of the rock walls in Rockwall, Texas, and decades-long researcher at the site, observes that the rocks, which are large and flat, are standing on their edges. What breed of wall builders would build a wall like that? If a rock were 6 inches thick and 18 inches in circumference, would you lay them on their sides? Also, there appears to be a mortar of yellow sand between each rock, a type of cement. Yeah, it's a geopolymer. Yet there is no sand in the area at all, especially yellow sand. And as a matter of fact, the wall is set in solid clay. In 1897, a farmer by the name of DeWeese was digging a well near the town when he discovered a 2-foot square window in the wall. This was at a depth of 42 feet. I believe it was supposedly a perfect window with a caprock or a keystone at the top of the window. 20 years later, according to Tolbert, a well was hand-dug on the T.H. Meredith farm east of Rockwall Town. Mr. Meredith said the digging went along what he took for a masonry wall with what appeared to be an arch over a gateway or a door. Yeah, that's the corbelled arch walkway. Although no human artifacts have thus far been discovered at the site, well, that's not true. This had to have been written before the rings were found. The carving of a serpent's head plainly appears on the wall. Oh, I didn't know about that. There's a serpent head on this thing? Well, I need to know about that. I need to know where the fuck that's at. Please. There's a serpent head on the fucking wall, and I didn't know that? Jesus Christ, you motherfuckers could have saved me a lot of time. Let me know about that ahead of time. There's a serpent's head. You need to get me some money, motherfuckers. I'm serious. Y'all need to get me some money. Y'all need to fund this film. My goodness. Who have I been telling you about? The serpent priests and the kings and all this stuff that I was on the trail that built this thing? They found a serpent head in the rock wall? God damn, I'm going to pop a fuse over here. Oh, my goodness. Oh, God. Oh. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Nelly. Boy, it's going to get interesting, y'all. I hope you're ready. Woo! I'm on fire now. I got to find out about that. They found a serpent's head carved into the wall. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I just knocked my dick in the dirt. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about all the stuff that I've already been, every day, all the stuff I'm researching every day, I've been looking at, all this reading I've been doing. I mean, the more and more that I find on this thing, the more I know that I've been 100% right about this for years and years and years. Oh, man. Unbelievable. I got to find out about that. The carving of a serpent's head plainly appears on the wall, and townsman Raymond B. Cameron claimed that 4 large stones taken from the wall segments had some form of writing in them, and he said the stones appeared to be beveled around the edges. Alfred D. Hartman, Rockwall County librarian, spoke with an Egyptologist recently returning from the Nile Delta. We had been excavating a Potomac burial chamber. He told me that Rockwall was the same type as used in the King's Tomb. What? Oh, man. Wow. Tolbert described a French archaeologist, Count Byron de Prorock, who studied the subterranean walls in the early 1930s. Actually, it was 1925 when de Prorock was here. De Prorock was in Dallas lecturing on his recent excavations among the ruins of Carthage, North Africa. The Count viewed some outcroppings of the Rockwall County phenomenon, and he peered into a hand-dug water well where the walls showed best. If you don't mind the chance of falling in, he said the walls look remarkably like those in North Africa and in the Middle East. De Prorock also examined a series located northeast of the town. This section is laid in the manner of a stone wall with sharp edges and a substance resembling mortar holding the stones together. The wall is jointed with stones laid as a mason would lay them. Just as I said. Although born in France, Count Francis Byron Kuhn de Prorock was actually Hungarian, educated at the University of Geneva. Later inducted into the Royal Geographical Society and Archaeological Institute of Great Britain and Ireland, and after becoming a U.S. citizen, held the Archaeological Institute of America's prestigious Norton Lectureship in 1922 and 1923. Gifted with energy and determination and speaking several languages, according to Archaeology magazine, de Prorock was no intellectual slouch, although his prodigious accomplishments in the pursuit of a highly adventurous life have been virtually forgotten, in part due to his belief in the former existence of Atlantis tantamount to the worst scientific heresy. Yeah, I love that. You know, this guy went all over the world, was very respected, was right on all about these things. And then when his research took him to where it inevitably takes you if you're doing your own research, to the evidence of Atlantis, all of a sudden, he's discredited. This definitely was a lot worse then than it is now. After excavating the ruins of Carthage at Tunis, North Africa, from 1920 to 1925, he headed numerous, very often hazardous excavations from East Africa to the Amazon jungle, and was the first archaeologist to document his research with motion picture cameras. Says archivist and cinematographer Michael Tarabulski, who has studied Prorok's career, I admire Byron's many talents, painting, writing, and having the presence of mind to have film shot, but the films, if they exist, would give him a legacy. He would have made a contribution to world culture. Tragically, none of the Count's numerous archaeological movies are known to have survived, although his books have been republished. Yeah, that's because the fucking Smithsonian probably, or the Vatican probably took off. Think about that. The guy had old footage of some of these old sites like Carthage and stuff being excavated for the first time, and all of a sudden he dies and they just disappear. Yeah, somebody's got that shit. It's on lockdown somewhere. Geologists argue that the Texas wall's prodigious length, at 10 miles and almost certainly longer, negates their man-made provenance. But Dr. Glenn's associate, an oil well employee, just returned from India and South America, where he saw a similar pre-Incan wall more than 100 miles long in the mountains of Bolivia. A Florida archaeologist who preferred anonymity concluded that the wall was man-made and constructed while this area of Texas was near the Gulf. He stated houses were built on top of the wall, projecting over the water. This would explain how the walls came to be buried underground as the waters retreated over time, but leaves us with a disturbing time sequence for the structures because geologists believe the Gulf drained from the Dallas area about 10,000 years ago. Though it is difficult to imagine the existence of any civilized people sophisticated enough to have raised stone ramparts in Texas so long ago, a more likely scenario has Lake Lavon, near where Rockwall is located, somewhat larger than its present area, retreating within more workable time. Well, what do you mean? Retreating? Lake Lavon is not. How could Lake Lavon retreat back then? It was built in 1945. Lake Lavon's not a natural lake. So there's. What do you mean? It couldn't have. It says that it retreated into more workable time perimeter, say within the last 2,000 years. Well, Lake Lavon was not around 2,000 years ago. It's a man-made lake, but Lake Ray Hubbard are right next to each other. You never see lakes that close to one another. Such an interpretation of the evidence complements both geology, which shows that Lake Lavon shrank to its current limits about 20 centuries ago. How could Lake Lavon have shrank to its current limits 20 centuries ago? That's false information. Lake Lavon was not even there 20 centuries ago. Where the fuck are these guys getting their information at? I mean, I grew up on that lake my whole life. My family, my grandparents and stuff were going out there when that lake opened in like 1945, man. My family, I'd go back 3 generations of people, fishermen on Lake Lavon, man. My family, lived on that. We didn't live on that lake, but I mean, my God, I was going out there from the time I could walk. Fishing out there my whole life with my dad. I mean, you can go look it up. Lake Lavon was built in 1945. I'm not crazy on that, but they found all sorts of Indian graves and stuff out there, but I don't understand why they're trying to say that Lake Lavon shrank and had something to do with the seawall thing of the rock wall. That makes no sense. That's just pure disinfo. Independent comparisons made by DeProrok and Hartman's Egyptologist suggested a general date sometime during the 1st century A.D. for Rockwall. Indeed, if it is artifactual, the courses of its masonry might be Roman stonework, or at any rate, and it ain't Roman, baby. Sorry. You Romans aren't getting the credit for this one. Fuck you. At any rate, stonework influenced by Roman models, another point in favor for its 2,000-year-old origins. And it's way older than that. You can look at the stones and the weathering on those stones. It's way older than 2,000 years. As such, the Texas site could join other suspected evidence from ancient Italy in pre-Columbian America, including Roman masonry marks allegedly appearing on Maya brickwork at Mexico's Comacalco and Rio de Janeiro's 3rd century Roman amphorae, authenticated by University of Massachusetts classical history professor Elizabeth Will. Roman minted coins found in Wisconsin and Kentucky, plus numerous similar artifacts discovered throughout the Americas. That's another red herring. Yeah, that's another red herring. See, now they're trying to connect the fact that Roman coins were founded here, trying to connect that with saying that, well, that was probably who built the rock wall. Wrong yet again. Remains of an ancient civilization or natural formation. What is the rock wall? There has never been an effort to define which formations are natural and which are man-made. Perhaps the mystique of the rock wall lies in the fact that it cannot be said with absolute certainty that it is either. Texas, however, is not the only state featuring enigmatic stone walls. Another example, but unquestionably man-made, was found in the Middle West, according to a front-page story in the April 19th, 1884 issue of The Point, Coop's Democrat in New Roads, Louisiana. The greatest wonder in the state of Iowa, and perhaps any other state, is what they call Walled Lake in Wright County, 12 miles from the Dubuque and Pacific Railway, and about 150 miles west of Dubuque. Is that how you say that? Dubuque City. French bastards. Screw you, Frenchie. The water is from 2 to 3 feet higher than the Earth's surface. In most places, the wall is 10 feet high, 15 feet wide at the bottom, and 5 feet wide at the top. Another fact is the size of the stone used in its construction. The whole is of stone, varying in weight from 3 tons down to 100 pounds. There is an abundance of stones in Wright County, but surrounding the lake, to the extent of 5 or 10 miles, there are none. No one can form an idea as to the means employed to bring them to the spot or who constructed it. Around the entire lake is a belt of woodland half a mile in width composed of oak, and with this exception, the country is a rolling prairie. Well, same thing with, so you see, they didn't mention that either about Rockwall. It's the flat land out here, man. There aren't hills and valleys or any of this stuff. It's flat. The trees, therefore, must have been placed there at the time of building the wall. And in the spring of 1856, there was a great storm, and the ice on the lake broke the wall in several places. And the farmers in that vicinity were obliged to repair the damages to prevent inundation. The lake occupies a ground surface of 1,905 acres with depth of water of 25 feet. The water is clear and cold and soil sandy and loamy. It is singular that no one has been able to ascertain where the water comes from and where it goes to yet, but it always remains fresh and clear. During the summer of 1997, on my way to Utah's Ancient American Conference, I went in quest of Iowa's Walled Lake. There never appeared to have been any such thing in Wright County, but 2 counties over, in Sac, I did find a wall lake. Perhaps county boundaries changed since the 19th century. In any case, Wall Lake loosely corresponded to the Point Coop Democrats' 113-year-old description, minus, unfortunately, the encircling ramparts. Also, the lake appeared shallow enough to walk across, unlike the 25-foot depths described in the old magazine article. No one in the area could tell me how or why this body of water, now seldom visited, received its name, let alone anything about some great wall. Nor could anyone at the Fort Dodge Historical Museum add anything as well. I visited Wall Lake nonetheless, and finding nothing suggesting former stonework was about to leave, when a row of uniformly arranged rocks protruding from the water's edge near the eastern boat access caught my attention. Wading down among the thick overgrowth of bulrushes and cattails, I partially uncovered a much longer arrangement of undressed but fitted stones. They seemed to go on farther than I could uncover them. Were they part of a foundation, all that remained of a 10-foot-high wall that once held back its waters? If it collapsed since the article was published, or more likely dismantled by turn-of-the-century developers, then the lake would have spilled most of its volume, resulting in the present shallowness of Wall Lake. Naturally, more than this cursory examination of the apparently arranged stones needed to confirm their identification with a pre-settlement structure. But finding that at this site with its evocative name implied a possible connection that justifies further investigation. While in western Iowa, I was surprised to learn of another place called Little Wall Lake, 75 miles due east of Wall Lake in Hamilton County. Its description was closer to that reported by the old Louisiana magazine because Little Wall Lake is located the 150 specified miles from Davenport. As before, no one locally knew why or how the lake got its name. In the area, it compares with the 1884 description, although its depth is supposedly greater by 15 feet. In any case, Little Wall Lake, being a popular recreation spot, is more easily accessible than its Sac County counterpart and better maintained. Its shoreline relatively free from obscuring weeds. Poking among the tall grass, I soon found level courses of rough stonework, but this time was able to follow them entirely around the perimeter of the lake. The stones went down into the water and stood less than 2 feet above the surface. How old was this construction? I could not guess, but its man-made character was unquestionable. Little Wall Lake is in fact completely surrounded by a little wall. It is all that remains of that engineered rampart on the lonely plains first encountered by early 19th century pioneers during their trek westward. Who could have built such a structure, and when? Like the rock walls of Texas, Iowa has its own traces of unknown colonizers who passed through our continent so very long ago, leaving behind hardly more than faded memories. That's the end of part 2 and the end of that chapter. The next part is part 3 of the book, Ancient American High Tech. Ancient American High Tech. And so we'll pick up on chapter 31 next time, Prehistoric Aviators of the Andes. So that's probably going to get into our giant friends some more, don't you think? What I knock off? Knocked off something important. All right, well, boy, that was certainly interesting. A carved serpent face on the side of the rock wall. Wow. You know, like I said, our chipping banner there for the emergency chipping banner for the film ended about $2,000 short. You know, I don't know what else to say. We also have our Kickstarter going out. You know, just help us out, man. And I hope now you get a better idea why I'm staying up nights working on this shit constantly. It's just mind-blowing. And we have an opportunity to change something here. But we got to have the money to do it, and that just didn't happen without you. So please visit thegoldreality.com, make a donation to our work so we can continue on with this, folks. And I've dedicated my life to this, and I'm not going to stop till we uncover this, and that's a promise. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you tomorrow night for the broadcast. You guys have yourselves a great one. Take care.